Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, every time they meet, the game's been decided by 3 points, and yesterday was no different. Is Patrick Mahomes inevitable, though? Is he always going to be the guy at the end of this? What did we see from this matchup?
I mean, it feels like it, doesn't it? It feels like, no matter how the game shakes out, he gets the ball in his hands late and finds a way to get the job done. Watching that game, though, I felt like the Bengals looked a lot better than they did week one, right? So they looked like a different football team on both sides of the football. But you kind of mentioned it about Patrick Mahomes being inevitable. I go back to the Cincinnati drive that they had prior to the last drive Kansas City had. And so they convert the first third down, which was good. I think they ran the ball on first down right after that. They had a 2nd and 6, with I can't remember who was in the slot, but they had a 2nd and 6 where they had a slot receiver and Joe Burrow missed behind, right? And there's a chance to front pad or gut shot that football and get that first down. And that's kind of the margin of error that you're playing with when you go against Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Like, you're going to get one play. If you're in that football game, you got a chance to get it and put that game away. You're going to get one play where there's an opportunity to really either bleed more clock, convert, move the sticks. And I thought Joe Burrow played pretty well. I thought he did a good job using the tight ends, but he had that one opportunity on kind of an inside slot, short slant, and missed. And really, that's the margin of error that you have going against Mahomes, because when he gets it back, I think your guy's point is exactly right. Like, this is what happens every time he gets it. They find a way to get the job done. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the penalties or whatever. Both of them were clear-cut penalties. So, like, there's no debate there. They made the plays they needed to play or needed to make to win the game.
Yeah, the defense stepped up when they had to. Obviously, Joe Burrow not able to, put the spear in the dragon there with Patrick Mahomes, being able to convert there on that play. But to your point, when you see that punt team on the field for Cincinnati and you see just enough time on the clock for the Chiefs, the Grim Reaper is over there. He's shining up his scythe. He's getting ready to go back in there and take somebody's soul. It was no different this past game, and I've seen it in person. I've seen it on TV, and it always looks the same. Patrick looks a little bit too calm to be in that chaotic situation. He goes out there, he delivers a couple strikes. And then even that scramble drill, take us through that scramble drill on the PI, on the 4th and forever, where you see Patrick roll left and then have the ability to find a hole shot there on a sat-down Rashee Rice, and then the safety's got to fight through him. So as a quarterback, when you see a guy like Rice be able to throw the brakes on and show you eyes, what's going through your mind there?
Well, to be clear, I've never been in that position of scrambling around that long and making something like that happen. So I don't know exactly, what's going through his brain at that point. But honestly, it's your only chance, right? Like, it's your only legitimate chance in those type of situations. 4th and that long is to extend a play, make it broken, and try and catch them out of position, which they did. And to me, it's just become routine for them. I mean, we've seen this for years. Like, once a game, twice a game, 3 times a game, he's going to make these crazy play extensions. And then their receivers are just all on the same page. I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing. It's Patrick extending, but it's those guys also understanding when to put the brakes on, like you mentioned, where to find the soft spots, use their creativity, use the rules that they have in the scramble game too, and make it come to life. It was impressive to see.
Now, one more question I have for you. There's been a lot made on social media about the fact that, this guy Travis Kelce, he's not as productive this year, but I seem to think that they're going to try to keep their horse in the stable. Like a lot of these teams, they understand they're going to be around at the end of the season. Travis Kelce clearly going to be used at some point in an extended role. But you mentioned it. It's those receivers on the same page with Patrick Mahomes. What's your level of concern for this offense and their lack of involvement with Travis Kelce this early in the season?
I think they'll find their rhythm. Everybody changes as you get older, right? But Travis has the knack of creating separation, not only with his wiggle, but using his body. So I think they'll find ways to create space for him. He's not scared of the moment either, right? And so as you get later in the season or you get to these critical third downs that they're going to have, I just I feel like he's the type of player that's going to find a way to get it done. My level of concern for them is the injury to Isaiah Pacheco. To me, that is, they have become a run-first team, and I love coming on here talking about the quarterbacks, but you look at them the second half of last season and what they did through the playoffs, they're pounding the football. And really the first 2 weeks of the season are the same. I mean, they've come out running the football, being physical, and he is kind of the bell cow for it. And to me, that's where I would have, probably my most concern for them for the next couple of weeks or however long it's going to be.
I want to get back to the Bengals to kind of tie a bow on this. Andrei Iosivich was the one who had a touchdown that game. I believe he was the one in that 2nd and 6 where the ball was behind him.
I couldn't remember who it was.
Obviously kind of emerging as their secondary option to Jamar Chase. When T. Higgins comes back, do we expect business as usual from this Bengals offense? I know from week 1 to week 2 we saw a big improvement. Do we see when T. Higgins comes back, are they, top 5-0 in the NFL when he comes back?
Listen, I'm a massive, massive T. Higgins fan. I love him. I love his size. I love his physicality. I love the way that he plays. He's a matchup problem for people in man-to-man coverage. He's good with the ball in his hands. So I do expect an uptick in what they can do. And if they run the ball the way they did yesterday, I thought they were much better in the run game yesterday than they were week 1. So I think, that balance of not losing sight of running the football, being creative in the ways that they ran the football yesterday. You get T. Higgins back. Gesicki had a nice game yesterday. I think you start to look at, I know these guys have started 0-2 for like the last handful of years and they've found their way. As they start to get pieces back, I do think they're going to be competitive. And they showed, they've shown they can go toe-to-toe with the best of the best.
And with the Ravens 0-2, it's going to come down to the wire, probably a rivalry game there against the Baltimore Ravens. Well, me and Mike were talking about rivalry games and quarterbacks that we love to watch play, and for me, it's Mahomes against anybody, but for the most part, it's Mahomes and Allen. That's my favorite. People like Mahomes and Burrow. I really like the styles make fights argument there with Josh Allen and for Patrick Mahomes. But we wanted to ask you, who did you get up for to go play against? We obviously know one guy in division who you probably got really excited to play against, but is there somebody else that you had in mind, or was it always Drew Brees?
I mean, Drew Brees, we played against each other for so long, right? And he played at such a high level. So to me, and there's like the Falcons-Saints rivalry is sneaky, like one of the best in the league. And I feel like a lot of people don't know about it, but the two cities, you can feel the energy in those games. So to have a guy like Drew Brees that I went against for so long, that was always a ton of fun for me to compete against him and try and, outsling it. Like go out there and put up a game that he couldn't handle. He got the better of me. I got the better of him a little bit. So it was a ton of fun. But in division, I think back to like Cam Newton was a ton of fun to go against too. And he was a problem, man. He was so physical in the run game. He would beat you with like 210 yards passing, another 80 on the ground, and just seem to just, have a way of dragging 3 or 4 defenders for like 6 yards as you think you're going to get the ball back, and he just extends it. So to me, those two guys in division were probably the most fun to go against.